20 years who just released maybe her first book. I could be wrong, but it's great to have her here join the podcast. Jamie Jamgochian. I told you I was going to pronounce it wrong, but Jamie, thank you for joining me.
Yes, it's Jamgochian, and you nailed it before we started recording.
I knew it when once we press record, I was going to mess this up, and I was like, I'm going to. I get all these weird names. Like your last name is like hard to say. I had a Swedish name to pronounce. Like maybe my specialty is not saying last names, but all the fun facts. But thank you for joining me today, Jamie.
Thanks for having me.
Let's just start nice and easy. For those who don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you? You've been in this music industry for about 20, 25 years. And can you tell us a little bit how you got started?
Yeah. So I have been around a long time. Gosh, that dates me. I came to faith at 21. I was studying jazz piano in the bars, playing in the bars and cruise lines. I was studying at Berkeley, singing, My Funny Valentine, all that. And God got a hold of my life through a classmate. She told me about Jesus, and it was the first time I heard the gospel. And she gave me my first experience with Christian music, which was a cassette tape, totally dating myself, with one song on it, Shout to the Lord. And I remember hearing that music and my heart coming alive because I felt the anointing. I felt the presence of God. And, there's a lot of great music out there, but it's different when it's backed with the power and the presence of the Lord. And it was interesting, Brendan, because I didn't know Jesus yet. But in my spirit, I was like, I think I'm supposed to sing this kind of music, but I wasn't saved yet. So isn't that funny how God just prepares us? And then she gave me my first Bible not too long after. And she finally led me to the Lord, and I came to faith. And my life radically changed at 21. I just only wanted to know the Lord more. I wanted to sing for Him. I devoured the Bible. I ended up moving to Seattle to a 2-year Bible internship at an incredible church. I got introduced to worship music, and that's when I just surrendered all my hopes, my dreams, and thought, this is it. This is what I was made to do, to lead worship and to sing with God's people. And God is so gracious that when He has something planned for us, He'll make it happen. And I got signed to my first record deal at like age 25. I was still a fairly new Christian. Got signed to Centricity Music and eventually moved to Nashville. And here we are. I've been traveling, singing, ministering in music for the last 20 years, and count it an honor to hopefully write songs and sing songs that first glorify the Lord and then bring people closer to Him.
It's cool how you said that first album. I was going for my Christian music album question. I have an album question to my left. You won't see it because we're recording and everything. But I was going through it, and I actually have your first album. And if I had my shelf like I usually do have in the
No.
background, your album was going to be in my background today. So it's
Wait,
cool you read that.
you have the Reason to Live album?
Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh. So you would have been like 10 years old?
Oh, I see here. That came out 2005, six.
Amazing.
I went
Oh,
like
that's
I
amazing.
collect Christian CDs. It's kind of like my big red flag, I guess. But I have over 600 Christian albums. But
Well,
that's pretty cool.
thanks for being a supporter from day one.
You're welcome. So like that's when I didn't like first discover you then, but that's like the first album I really deep dived into of yours. Like I always played the singles, I mean, there's always singles and everything. But that's like the first album I actually deep dived into yours. So it's really cool that you brought up that first album.
Thank you.
And transitioning now into you can add author to your resume. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but you just released a book. Can you tell us a little bit about that book? You put out that album, Sacred Surrender, with a now you have a book coming out with called Surrender. Probably at the time of releasing this episode, the book's out, so check it out. Check out the album Sacred Surrender. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I put out my seventh album, Sacred Surrender. Gosh, has it been almost 2 years now or a year and a half ago? It goes by so fast. And that was such a special record. I partnered with a new label, and I never thought I'd have that kind of experience again. I'm a little bit older now, and they had such kingdom vision, and we aligned in the purpose of this record. I tour pretty heavily in the women's event space.
Hmm.
So I get to hear every night what women are dealing with: miscarriage, broken marriages, health crises, young children falling away from the Lord. And I remember when God had me write for this record, He was very specific to really offer a place, a heart posture of surrender for all that kind of stuff. So a lot of these songs are special to me because they're things I've had to navigate. I've had to navigate overcoming a health crisis. I've been waiting and waiting in different areas of my life for God to break through. So a lot of these songs are deeply personal, but also music that I really pray reaches people kind of right where they're at, if they're in a broken place or if they're in the valley. And, I always wondered if I'd have a book out, and kind of that it was spoken over my life several times by different pastors and people like saying, I see you with books. And I was like, really? I'm like a songwriter, but thanks. And I dealt with some learning issues when I was really young and just kind of had to come out of agreement with the lie that I could even write a book. And isn't that like God to show up in our weak areas and to say, actually, there's a message in your heart and you don't think you're a writer other than music, but I've got another plan. And so it was an awesome book publisher that reached out to me, and it was through my literary agent. And I'm working with David C. Cook Publishing. And yeah, this first book called Sacred Surrender, The Practice of Waiting Well with God, comes out October 7th. And it's so neat because it's a lot of my life story. And I feel like it's the written form of the album, the same themes. So it's exciting to have both those kind of ministry tools available now.
And like you probably talk about a lot about your faith journey in that book. Is there like a special story or moment in that book that you wrote this like this is something I have to include in my book? Like there's no doubt I'm adding this.
Yeah, so gosh, there's so many stories that are super personal, but I think the chapters that are really special to me are the ones that talk about how to trust God in the timing of our lives when things don't look the way we planned. And I remember one day I was like, "But Lord, this hasn't happened and that hasn't happened." And I felt like he just spoke to my spirit, "Well, get living and like do everything I can to live an abundant life, maybe even in some of the emptiest of places." And that's kind of my theme is I'm going to live a full, joyful life in Jesus, no matter what the circumstances look like. And that's where you really come alive in him and where you find your purpose and your hope. So like I took the dream trip actually for this book. I felt like I wanted to do my own Eat, Pray, Love, but I called it Eat, Pray, Love, Right. So I traveled to some places I've always wanted to go, like Banff, Canada, and Malibu, California, and just sat in some of the most gorgeous places, the ocean side at Cape Cod, and just sat and let my heart write this book, and did the things I might be waiting to do with a spouse, or but just felt like, no, I'm going to do it now and I'm going to do it well. And a lot of the themes of the book talk about that. How do we wait well when we feel stuck in different areas and when things don't feel like they're shifting? And I think that's a big posture of our heart and a posture of surrender, why the book is called Sacred Surrender. And it's just a daily reminder of not my will, Lord, but your will be done.
And for those who haven't listened to the album, I recommend listening out. There's a lot of great features. Right, Joseph Habdink. I cannot pronounce some of these names. Like I said, last names are my weakness. You had Citizens Way. You had Jenny Owens. You had Stella. What? How was it like working with these different artists and everything while we're releasing this album slash book?
For the features, yeah, that was so fun. I had never really done a lot of that before. And, just being here in Nashville and, you're part of the music community for so long, you develop friendships. And I loved writing with Ben Calhoun from Citizen Way. We wrote one of my favorite worship songs that I've been singing on the road the last year called Coming Back Again, Holy, 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 and recorded that
Ben's a great.
together.
Ben's a great
Yeah,
guy.
he is. And then Todd Smith from Selah, we wrote a song called Our Father that has been released. And it's such a treat to record with Selah because some of my very first tour dates 20 plus years ago were with them. And so it felt like family. It felt like the right next thing. Jenny Owens is someone I met as a baby Christian. And I had written this song that I just thought, I feel like I could hear her voice on it. So we recorded a song called By Heart together. So it was awesome. To answer your question, it was awesome to record with them and to put these songs out with some of my favorite artists.
Do you have a favorite song from the album?
Ooh, what a good question. I think my favorite song on this album would be the radio single Our Father. It speaks to where I was at when I was writing the album, and even now with like everything going on in our world, we need to be declaring the Lord's Prayer and like over everything. And it's just a great reminder, even to my own heart. The last phrase of it says, "Your will be done in my story." And we don't always get to pick our stories, but we can posture our hearts in God, let your will be done no matter what. And just feel like we sometimes need that reminder.
And with every artist, everyone writes songs and they don't put out every song. Do you ever write songs and you never put out an album? I just like to hear your creative process. Like, do you like write a bunch of songs and then you pick and choose, or do you like, okay, I just write songs strictly for an album? Like, I know a theme.
Ooh, so I'm one of those people that typically wait till I know I'm going to put out an album and then I start writing again. So, and I co-write a lot. So the theme is kind of whatever I'm going through in life. Like I have no idea what my next EP or song will be about until I get in that writing room and it's time. And whatever I'm going through in that moment is typically what I write about. So like right now, I've just been so focused on the book and the tour that I honestly have no clue what's going to come out next. And I'm kind of excited because God knows and I don't. But yeah, for me, it's more right on the spot. Whatever I'm kind of walking through in that moment is what I write about.
And that's really exciting. That's what makes unique. There's some people that plan like Bart Millard from Mercy Me. Like he always said he was writing like I can only imagine. It's like a song he's been writing. He was writing forever, but he took like 5 minutes to write. But he wrote it like it was his life
Yeah,
story, and it's just crazy to see these other artists like how everyone writes their writing process is different. So,
totally.
and you are also a worship leader on top of being just a recording artist. How is it different between being a worship leader and an artist? Like how is that being for you? Like
Gosh,
trying
I
to
think
balance
worship.
two, like trying to
Yeah.
balance like two jobs at once, kind of in a way.
Yeah, worship's my heart. I mean, I know in the industry it's like they say you're like a worship artist or a CCM artist. I've always wrestled with that, even when I came to Christ. I hope we're not building our own kingdoms, but we're building upon the kingdom of God and leading people closer to Jesus. But I guess there is that aspect of like the branding and you're the artist and your name. But I wrestle with it a little bit. I think we are all, as believers, we're worshipers first, and that should constantly be our heart posture. Like whatever we're doing, it doesn't just mean we're singing and leading people in corporate worship, but our lifestyle should hopefully reflect a heart of worship and that we're glorifying God. So I guess I see it all kind of as one, like
Hmm.
who I am as a friend, as an employee is the same as who I am on the stage when I'm leading, thousands of women in worship. And I hope that my life reflects that, whether I'm on a platform or taking a walk.
And what's your goals for next? So you're releasing the book. The book is probably released at the time of recording this episode. I do apologize, people who are listening. This is probably going to be out a couple of weeks after I post this, or before, like a week after I post this. What's next? Do you plan to do like a book tour, or what? What's your next goal with this book?
Yeah, so right now we're doing a lot of book stuff, which is so fun, and I'm on a fall tour that ends the end of November. So check out where I'm going to be if you're a woman. These Aspire Women's Nights are phenomenal. We've got great Bible teaching, great music, worship, and then we have a really hilarious comedian who will just make you laugh. And I think we need more laughter right now with everything going on in our world. So I'll be on tour until the end of November, and then I'll take December. I think I'm going to start writing for whatever God has next musically, and I'm just kind of holding that very open-handed. So I'll get back into the writing rooms. I write for Curb Music Publishing, so I'll be down there writing several days a week, and then I have something new coming out the first quarter of 2026. Can you believe we're already almost in 2026?
Right, crazy.
And it's really different, Brendan, than anything else I've released. It's called Sacred Moments, and it's my producer captured some live piano worship, spontaneous moments at the studio when we were recording the album Sacred Surrender, and we thought it was such a special moment. We didn't know what we were quite going to do with it. And so we've made them into little songs, and it's kind of going to be like a prayer, music, devotional slash meditation. I'm singing and playing, but it's very spontaneous. These aren't songs that you would hear
Yeah.
on radio or sing at a church on a Sunday morning. But I think where I have a health story and where I've walked different roads, my prayers, people will put it on and just kind of soak and just kind of get refreshed and receive from the Lord. So it's really special. I don't know quite yet when it's coming out in January or February, but it's called Sacred Moments. And I hope it blesses people because it really is probably one of the things I'm most excited about.
And it's really exciting because all those fake things that people don't expect and that are not supposed to be entered radio, I think are some of the most authentic and real things you can see in anything. Like even like being yourself. That's like the best thing way to explain it is the most real talent and treasure you can get.
It's so raw, it's so real, it's not tuned, it's not perfect. I mean, in one breath, I'm just start like praying like for people that are battling illness, singing while it's special. I really hope it gets into the right hands and hearts. So, yeah.
And for when you're not making music, do you have anything you like to do for fun to recharge? Like if you're not making it, because I feel like musicians' life is like 24/7, 365. Like there's no sleep, whatever. Like you're up
Yeah.
till like 2 in the
Yeah.
morning at a concert, like taking down. Then you're like, oh, we get to do this again at 9 a.m. the next day, setting up.
I know. I was just thinking about that the other day. I think it's so important that we pour in as much as we pour out. For me, sunset walks bring me life. I'm a beach girl. Anytime I can be by the water, take a walk, sit in the sun, get in the water. I love the ocean. I love my dear friends here in Nashville. So, like, we have a dinner plan next week, doing things like that, hanging out with them, reading a good book, getting lost in a book, or maybe watching some shows on Netflix that I enjoy, all the normal things. But I think it's important that we don't just pour in, we don't just pour out, but we pour in. And of course, time with the Lord and all of that is non negotiable. But yeah, those are some of the things that kind of just fuel me.
And my second to last question for you today is: do you have a Bible verse that inspires you or keeps you grounded? Like what keeps you moving? Like everyone's favorite Bible verse.
Mm. Gosh, I feel like they're always changing. When I first got saved, it was Proverbs 3:5 to trust in the Lord. Then I moved into Jeremiah 29:11 that God knows the plans he has for me. Good plans. And then when I got really sick, Romans 8:28 was the verse that God had me cling to. My birthday is August 28th. And so 8:28. And so it's that God will work all things together for our good. And I just had to cling to that truth because it didn't look good in the moment. It didn't feel good in the moment. I think recently, a scripture I've been going back to a little bit is in Song of Songs, and it says, "All beautiful, you are my darling. There is no flaw in you." And I felt just the Lord speaking that lately. So.
And we just have a few extra minutes with you today. Is there anything on your heart or anything that you want to share about the book, your music journey that we haven't discussed? Anything you want to share personally?
Yeah, I think just for anyone listening, like we all go through hard seasons and the temptation is to give up or the temptation is to shrink back. But I think we're living in times where we need to shine our light, as cheesy as that sounds, as bright as we can, and really reflect the heart of the Father, which is love, and to reach out to those that we know are going through it. I mean, I pray that my music does that. If people are in a hard time, maybe some songs they could listen to of mine would be Beautiful Story and even All Things for Good, which we just talked about that verse. I wrote a whole song with Ben Calhoun called All Things for My Good, and it's based off that verse. I think it would really encourage someone. If there's anyone on here battling loneliness or you just feel like you're alone, I got to write a real personal song with some friends, and it's called Loved and Not Alone. And I pray that speaks to your heart. I know a lot of our younger generation, we're such a social media. We're always on our phone, selfies, reels, but we're also the loneliest generation that's ever existed. And I think social media is a big reason for that. So I felt led to write this song called Loved and Not Alone. I pray it encourages hearts that might be battling loneliness.
And for those who are watching, streaming, listening, whatever you're doing with this podcast, make sure to check out that song. Make sure to check out Jamie's book. It's going to be exciting. It comes out in a week and a half of recording this episode. Jamie, I want to thank you personally for coming down and sitting down with me. And glad we finally got to schedule this after, I don't know, 6, 7 months.
Thank you so much for letting me chat about my book and my music and love what you're doing. I love that you're such a Christian music fan. Look at all of the CD album artwork you have. That's behind you. I'm looking on your wall. I mean, that is just amazing. So I'm grateful for people like you who have been listening to our music for, gosh, 20 plus years. That really touched my heart. So thank you.
You're welcome. And everyone, we'll see you next time on the Christian Music Bro podcast. Take care and stay safe. There we go. Like I said, nice and easy. You're welcome. Like I said, I try to keep